I dag skal vi analysere en scene fra en serie som heter Julestorm, som du kan finne på Netflix, så jeg er ganske sikker på at alle har tilgang til denne serien. Julestorm betyr Christmas storm, og i serien så er det en stor storm dagen før julaften, og flyplassen er stengt. Flyene kan ikke fly fordi det er for farlig, det er for mye snø, for mye vind, og derfor så må alle vente på flyplassen, og de vet ikke når de skal kunne dra til familien sin, eller hvor enn de skulle. Alle må bare vente til stormen er over, og det er ingen som vet hvor lang tid det kommer til å ta før flyene kan fly igjen. Og de fleste som venter er ganske stresset, fordi dagen før julaften så er det jo ganske viktig at du skal kunne dra til familien din, for eksempel hvis du hadde planlagt å feire jul med dem. Så serien handler rett og slett om det her, om ventetiden. Så det er mange som ikke vet hva de skal gjøre, som begynner å kjede seg. Det er mange som begynner å snakke med hverandre, fordi de har ingenting annet å gjøre uansett. Og i serien så følger vi bare alle disse karakterene som blir litt kjent med hverandre, og kanskje også litt med seg selv. En av karakterene i serien heter Ida, og det er hun som vi kommer til å snakke om i dag. I serien så er hun veldig, veldig kjent. Hun er berømt fordi hun er artist, hun synger, og det er mange som kjenner hun igjen på flyplassen. Og vi ser i starten av serien at hun er litt lei av at alle bare vil snakke med henne hele tiden, har lyst til å ta bilder, og hun har bare lyst til å være litt alene, og jeg tror at hun er litt deprimert. Hun føler seg litt ensom, og hun synes at det er vanskelig å vite hvem som er ekte med henne, og hvem som bare vil bli vennen hennes fordi hun er kjent. Og det er nettopp dette som hun snakker om i scenen som jeg valgte. In this video, for it to be a bit easier for everyone, I'm going to explain everything in English. I always think that it's a lot more clear when the explanation is in English, and also it can help people that really don't know a lot of Norwegian to learn things that maybe are not of their level yet, but to learn things that are interesting, even if it's a bit hard. First, we can take a look at the scene, and then we'll come back to it and analyze it together.
Nå er jo det nye albumet endelig kommet. Og de første kritikkene er litt blandet.
Ja. Jeg har jo lært å ta ting med litt mer fatning.
Ok, hvordan da?
Alt kan jo snu på ett sekund, så jeg prøver å leve i øyeblikket og se hverken frem eller tilbake, men ja. For man vet jo aldri hva eller spesielt hvem man har når ting plutselig kan endre seg sånn uten videre, da.
Men det er vel ingen tvil om at du som artist er en suksess?
Ja, kanskje. Men det er jo typisk at når man er en suksess, at alle vil være vennen din eller få en liten bit av deg, men det er jo når du ikke er hot shit lenger at du virkelig får se hvem som er dine egentlige venner. Ja.
The first thing that is said is nå er det nye albumet endelig kommet, og de første kritikkene er litt blandet. The first thing that I want to talk about is det nye albumet, which means the new album. It's a bit weird because just to say the album, we're gonna say albumet. It's enough. But when you want to describe a word with an adjective, so to say, for example, here, the new album, then you have to add det in front, and you have to put an e in the end of the adjective that you're using. If you just want to say new, you're gonna say ny, but here we have to add an e in the end because it's just the way it is with this kind of construction. Let's take another example with a car, for example. So a car is en bil. The car is bilen. So you add the en in the end of bil. But to say the big car, you have to say den store bilen. So stor means big, but here we have to add an e in the end, and we have to add den in front. Den store bilen, the big car. We have another case of this structure right after in the sentence when she says the first critics. De første kritikkene. So Just the critics is kritikkene. Just first is først. But here we need de første kritikkene. So if you have a neutral word, you use det plus an e in the end of the adjective and then et ending. If you have a feminine or masculine word, you use den plus e in the end of the adjective and en in the end of the word. And if you have something that's plural, so if you have several things, like the critics, you use de, then an e in the end of the adjective, and ene in the end of your word. Then litt blanda means a bit mixed, so litt is a little bit. You can't say, for example, en litt. It doesn't exist in Norwegian. It's just litt. For example, if you want to say, I want a little bit of water, jeg vil ha litt vann. That's it. Then Ida says, ja, jeg har jo lært å ta ting med litt mer fatning.
Ja, jeg har jo lært å ta ting med litt mer fatning.
So, I have learned, jeg har lært, and you is not really possible to translate word for word, but here the meaning of it, you could say that it's a bit as if she said, yes, well, you know, I have learned how to deal with these things. So you could say that you here means, you know, litt mer fatning, a bit more, and fatning here means like you take a bit more time to think about things, you are a bit calmer, and you reflect over things instead of just reacting on it. Then she asks, okay, hvordan da? So she's like, okay, how then? So da here can be translated as then, but she means like, okay, well, how?
Ok, hvordan da?
Alt kan jo snu på ett sekund.
Alt kan jo snu på ett sekund. Everything can flip around, can change, can turn in a second. So å snu actually means to turn around. For example, if you're in a car and you drove the wrong way, your GPS can tell you that you have to snu. Du må snu. It means that you're driving this way, you have to drive exactly the opposite way. So when she says ting kan snu, it means things can become the exact opposite. På ett sekund is in a second, just like that. So I made a video on Instagram to explain a bit the preposition when we speak about time, and I explained that we use på when we spend time doing something. Here, that's kind of what it means. It means that in a second, not in a second from now, but like using a second, in the time of a second, everything can change. It's the same as the sentence that I used as example in the video on Instagram where I said, if you say I fall asleep in an hour, then you're gonna use på because it means that you spend an hour falling asleep. So jeg sovner på en time. I fall asleep in an hour.
Så jeg prøver å leve i øyeblikket. Og
Så jeg prøver å leve i øyeblikket. I try to live in the moment. So øyeblikk means a moment, and actually, if you really analyze the word, it means an eye blink. So like øye is eye, and blikk is the fact of like closing your eye. So øyeblikk is a moment. It just now, and the moment is gone. Jeg prøver å leve i øyeblikket og se hverken frem eller tilbake.
så jeg prøver å leve i øyeblikket og se hverken frem eller tilbake, men ja.
Frem og tilbake means back and forth. But here what she means is that she tries not to focus too much on the future or on the past. Frem is what is in front of you. To say the future, in Norwegian we say fremtiden, the time of what's in front of you. And tilbake means back, so what's behind you. And in this sentence we also have hverken eller, and this means neither or. So I try not to focus too much neither on the future, what's in front of me, nor in the past, what's behind me. If you wanted to say, for example, I don't like neither reading or being outside. Jeg liker hverken å lese eller å være ute. So you use this when you don't like both of the things that you're speaking about. And then she keeps going and says,
For man vet jo aldri hva eller spesielt hvem man har når ting plutselig kan endre seg sånn uten videre da.
For man vet jo aldri hva eller spesielt hvem man har når ting kan plutselig endre seg uten videre. Because you never know what and especially who you will have when things can just change suddenly without a warning. First, I want to speak about the word man, which in English we would translate to one, but when we speak, we often just say you as like you in general. So if I say, you never know what's gonna happen, I don't mean that you as a person here never know what's gonna happen. I mean that people in general, we all don't really know what's gonna happen. So in English we use you, but in Norwegian we have a word for that general you, and it is man, with only one N. So you have also man with two N's in the end, and this means a man. Spesielt is especially. To take again the example of the person that doesn't like to go out, we can say jeg liker ikke å gå ut, spesielt på vinteren. I don't like to go out, and especially in the winter. Ting kan endre seg. In Norwegian, the word to change, when you speak about something, is reflexive. So you say that something changes itself. It's not just the thing that changes magically, it's like it's changing itself. Things can suddenly change themselves. And I want to speak a bit about the word thing, because it's an exception, it doesn't really follow the normal rule. It's impossible to say tinger. En ting, one thing. The thing is tingen. Several things is flere ting, without the er in the end. And the things is tingene. Then the person that interviews her says,
Men det vel ingen tvil om at du som artist en suksess?
Ja, kanskje.
Men det jo ingen tvil om at du som artist en suksess. Så det ingen tvil. There is no doubt. Å tvile, it means to doubt. And when you say I doubt about something, you're gonna say jeg tviler på at. For example, I doubt that he said this. Jeg tviler på at han sa det. And then she answers,
Men det jo typisk at når man en suksess, at alle vil være vennen din, eller få en liten bit av deg, men det jo når du ikke hot shit lenger, at du virkelig får se hvem som dine egentlige venner.
Ja, men det jo typisk at når man en suksess, at alle vil være vennen din. Men det jo når du ikke hot shit lenger, at du virkelig får se hvem dine egentlige venner. This is a bit long, but it means it's really classic that when you're a success, that everyone wants to be your friend, but it is when you're not the hot shit anymore that you really get to see who are your real friends. Det typisk, it means it's typical. For example, if you have a friend that did something that he always do, you can say det så typisk han. It's classic him, it's typical him. Alle vil være vennen din. Everyone wants to be your friend. So vil, it means to want. I see and hear a lot of people that think that vil means the future, like will. It's true that it sounds a lot like it, and sometimes it's possible to use vil to say the future, but I just think that it's wrong to learn this in the beginning when you start learning Norwegian, just because it's not really common when we speak to use vil to express the future. We will use either skal or kommer til å. Vil is a bit more in the books or in some really specific situations that are not really worth learning in the beginning, I think. So just remember that most of the time, like 90% of the time, when you see vil in a sentence, it doesn't mean will, it means to want. Å ville means to want. Jeg vil, it means I want. Alle vil være vennen din, men det når du ikke hot shit lenger. Så ikke lenger means not anymore or no longer. For example, I don't want to see you anymore. Jeg vil ikke se deg lenger. You use it basically the same way as you use not anymore, which means that they're often not together in a sentence. Often you have the ikke first, and then lenger comes afterwards in the sentence. Another sentence, for example, that I could say is I don't live in Trondheim anymore. Jeg bor ikke I Trondheim lenger. And then du får se is you will get to see. Å få means to get, and we can use it in a lot of different situations. And here, for example, it's not to get as like to get something physically, but it's like you will get to see. Life will show you. And if you just use du får se, it means you will see. In Norwegian, we don't say du skal se, we say du får se. It's the same as I just explained. It's kind of like life will show you. It's not you that will control when you will see this, but you're gonna be given that information you'll see. Okay, we're done with this scene. I really hope that this video helped you, that it didn't go too fast, that it wasn't either too easy or too hard. You can let me know in the comments if you would like more videos like this, what series you would like me to talk about, or if you have any other ideas of videos that you would like to see on this channel. Vi snakkes!